The public relationship between Cardi B and Stefon Diggs began as a high-profile union between two figures at the top of their respective industries. Cardi B, born Belcalis Almansa, built her career through a combination of musical success and unfiltered public presence. Rising from the Bronx to global prominence, she has consistently spoken openly about her relationships, motherhood, and personal struggles. Stefon Diggs, meanwhile, established himself as one of the NFL's most visible wide receivers, recognized for his precision on the field and a personal life that has frequently attracted media attention. When the pair went public in May 2025, the relationship was framed as a natural crossover between music and professional sports. Their early appearances together generated significant attention. Courtside sightings and coordinated social media posts positioned them as a confident and highly visible couple. For Cardi, whose romantic history with Offset had unfolded publicly, the new relationship signaled what many fans described as a fresh chapter. Diggs' presence aligned with her high-energy lifestyle and public persona. At the time, there were no formal indications of instability. The narrative surrounding them focused on glamour, compatibility, and momentum. By late 2025, however, external pressure began to build around Diggs' personal life. Reports circulated alleging that he had fathered multiple children with different women within the same year. These claims gained traction when Diggs shared holiday photographs featuring several children, including a daughter with model Eileen Lepera. The images themselves were factual, but the interpretation of their broader context fueled speculation. Online commentary amplified the narrative, suggesting overlapping timelines and raising questions about the structure of his personal life. The allegations were widely discussed across digital platforms, including commentary from figures such as Tasha K, whose reporting has historically centered on celebrity controversy. While viral posts framed the situation as evidence of instability, there were no publicly cited court rulings within the referenced reporting confirming the most extreme versions of the claims. Nonetheless, the optics surrounding the photographs contributed to a shift in perception. What had initially been framed as a glamorous pairing began to attract scrutiny. The turning point in public sentiment occurred during Super Bowl LX in February 2026. The New England Patriots, with Diggs on the roster, faced the Seattle Seahawks. Cardi B appeared during the halftime show as part of Bad Bunny's performance, reinforcing her professional presence during one of the most watched sporting events of the year. Yet attention quickly shifted from the field to the stands. According to reporting from the Times of India, a woman identified as previously linked to Cardi's former partner Offset, was spotted in Diggs' private family section wearing an official Wags jacket. The imagery triggered immediate reaction online. The presence of someone connected to Cardi's past within Diggs' designated area intensified speculation about internal conflict. The optics were interpreted by many as disrespectful, particularly given the visibility of the event. Compounding the narrative was Cardi's reportedly brief pre-game interaction with reporters. Coverage from Hola described her offering a concise "good luck" before walking away. While the comment itself was neutral, its tone was widely analyzed. In the context of the circulating rumors, even small gestures were interpreted as meaningful indicators of distance. The broader context of Diggs' legal situation also intersected with the timeline. On February 13, 2026, Diggs pleaded not guilty to felony strangulation charges involving a dispute with his former personal chef, as reported by CBS News. The arraignment occurred days after the Super Bowl. While the case was legally distinct from the relationship narrative, its proximity in time intensified scrutiny. The delay of the legal process to allow him to participate in the Super Bowl was noted in reporting, reinforcing the overlap between professional obligations and personal controversy. Within this landscape, Cardi's public identity remained consistent. She had welcomed their son in November 2025 and was simultaneously navigating motherhood and a global tour schedule. Her visibility during the halftime show underscored her professional momentum. The events of Super Bowl weekend, however, reframed the public conversation from celebration to conflict. At this stage of the narrative, the relationship existed in a state defined by optics rather than explicit confirmation. The alleged paternity rumors, the sideline appearance of a controversial figure, and the visible social media changes collectively shifted public perception. The documented elements were clear, but the conclusions drawn from them varied. The saga, once presented as a glamorous convergence of industries, had entered a period marked by tension, scrutiny, and unresolved status. The developments following Super Bowl LX did not immediately produce a clear statement from either Cardi B or Stefon Diggs. Instead, the narrative evolved through a combination of on-stage remarks, digital reactions, and confirmed legal proceedings that intensified public scrutiny. What began as sideline speculation soon expanded into a broader examination of loyalty, public perception, and personal boundaries. The first direct acknowledgement of a shift in their relationship came during Cardi B's Little Miss Drama tour. According to reporting from Tribune, she addressed the situation during a Los Angeles performance, telling the crowd, "Just because I ain't fucking with my baby daddy doesn't mean you get to talk about him." The phrasing confirmed distance, while also signaling continued protection. She did not elaborate on specific grievances, nor did she accuse Diggs of wrongdoing in that moment. Instead, she framed the separation as personal, while rejecting public mockery. This stance was further contextualized by earlier tour footage reported by Heavy.com, which described Cardi becoming emotional during her Palm Desert opening night. In that appearance, she told fans, "Don't let nobody take your happiness." The comments were interpreted as reflective of her own experience, though she did not directly name Diggs in that segment. The sequence of events suggested that the breakup had occurred, yet the tone of her remarks was restrained rather than accusatory. At the same time, online backlash intensified. One focal point involved rival rapper BIA, who mocked Diggs on social media by referencing what she described as his baby mama to receiving yards ratio. The remark connected performance statistics to personal life allegations. In response, Cardi performed her diss track Pretty and Petty during a tour stop, directing visible frustration toward BIA's commentary rather than Diggs himself. Her decision to defend Diggs from external attacks, despite confirming distance from him, became a flashpoint for criticism. Fans flooded social media with comments accusing her of undermining her own position. Headlines described a turning point in public sympathy. The perception of humiliation stemmed less from verified events and more from optics. The sequence sideline controversy, unfollowing, emotional tour comments, and continued defense created a narrative of contradiction. Some observers argued that protecting Diggs publicly while separating privately signaled inconsistency. Others interpreted it as an attempt to preserve stability for the sake of their child. Neither interpretation was formally confirmed by either party. Parallel to the relational tension, Diggs's legal situation became a documented factor. On February 13, 2026, he pleaded not guilty to felony strangulation charges stemming from a dispute with his former personal chef, as reported by CBS News. The arraignment followed the Super Bowl and occurred amid heightened public scrutiny. Coverage noted that the legal process had been scheduled in a way that allowed him to play in the championship game before appearing in court. The charges are separate from the relationship narrative, but inevitably influenced public perception of his overall stability. The convergence of legal proceedings and personal controversy amplified pressure on both individuals. For Diggs, the plea of not guilty signaled the beginning of a formal judicial process. For Cardi, the timing placed her in a position of navigating motherhood, a global tour, and intense media focus simultaneously. The reporting cited does not document her involvement in the legal matter beyond relational association. However, the overlap contributed to a broader narrative of instability. Reports also referenced claims that Diggs had attempted to reconcile through luxury gifts delivered to Cardi's tour venues. While these gestures were described by sources in commentary coverage, there has been no verified statement from Cardi confirming receipt or acceptance of such gifts. The idea of five-figure offerings reinforced the image of attempted reconciliation, but it remains rooted in source-based reporting rather than documented public acknowledgement. Meanwhile, the digital landscape continued to shape perception. The unfollowing on Instagram and deletion of photographs remained central visual indicators. In modern celebrity culture, such gestures are often read as definitive signals. Yet no joint statement formally confirmed a permanent separation. Cardi's on-stage remark remains the clearest acknowledgement of distance, framing Diggs as her baby daddy rather than partner. The paternity rumors also continued circulating during this period. Times of India reported on fan backlash connected to viral posts alleging that Diggs had fathered multiple children in the same year. The reporting highlighted social media reactions rather than confirmed court findings. While photographs of children were factual, the broader narrative of simultaneous relationships relied heavily on digital commentary and reposted claims. No detailed court judgments confirming multiple concurrent paternity suits were cited in the referenced coverage. Throughout this phase, Cardi's posture remained complex. She did not publicly attack Diggs. She did not dispute the sideline optics in detail. Instead, she emphasized personal boundaries while objecting to external ridicule. That approach preserved a degree of control over the narrative. It also complicated public reaction, as some fans expected a more definitive denunciation. The Super Bowl weekend remains the visual anchor of the storyline. The appearance of Pri in the family section, Cardi's halftime performance, her early departure, and the subsequent social media actions created a sequence that felt decisive to viewers. However, the formal documentation of events is narrower. A reported sighting, a performance, and digital changes. The humiliation narrative developed through accumulation rather than explicit confirmation. By mid-February 2026, the confirmed elements included Cardi's on-stage acknowledgement of distance, Diggs' not guilty plea in court, and the documented sideline controversy. The emotional and reputational implications extended beyond those facts, driven largely by interpretation. The relationship status shifted publicly from celebrated pairing to unresolved separation, with professional obligations continuing for both parties. In this stage of the saga, clarity remained partial. The visible signs pointed to separation. The legal process involving Diggs moved forward independently. Cardi continued touring while managing motherhood. The public conversation focused on loyalty, self-respect, and optics. The documented facts provided a framework, but much of the surrounding narrative was shaped by digital amplification rather than formal declarations. As the immediate shock of Super Bowl weekend faded, the situation between Cardi B and Stefon Diggs entered a more complicated phase, defined by legal proceedings, professional commitments, and long-term implications rather than sideline drama alone. The visible signs of separation had already surfaced through social media changes and Cardi's on-stage remarks. What followed was a recalibration of priorities under public scrutiny. One of the most concrete developments during this period was Diggs' February 13, 2026 arraignment. As reported by CBS News, he pleaded not guilty to felony strangulation charges stemming from a dispute with his former personal chef. The case moved into the legal system formally, shifting part of the public conversation from relationship optics to judicial process. The timing, just days after the Super Bowl, ensured that personal and professional narratives overlapped. While the charges are separate from Cardi B, their proximity inevitably influenced how the broader situation was interpreted. The legal matter introduces a structured timeline that differs from the fluid nature of celebrity rumor. Court proceedings operate on documented filings, scheduled hearings, and recorded testimony. Unlike social media commentary, they rely on verifiable documentation. As of the arraignment, Diggs' position is clear. He has denied the charges and entered a not guilty plea. The case remains active within the legal system. There is no reporting indicating Cardi's involvement in the proceedings beyond her prior relationship with him. For Cardi, the months following Super Bowl LX have centered on professional continuity. Her Little Miss Drama tour continued, with performances documented in Los Angeles and Palm Desert. During those appearances, she acknowledged separation while simultaneously rejecting public attacks on Diggs. That dual position, distance paired with protection, became a defining feature of her public stance. She did not offer detailed allegations. She did not confirm reconciliation attempts. Instead, she maintained a controlled narrative focused on work and motherhood. The birth of their son in November 2025 remains a central fact shaping the long-term dynamic. Regardless of romantic status, Co-parenting establishes an ongoing connection. There are no cited custody filings or legal disputes between them within the referenced reporting. The absence of documented conflict in that area suggests that, at minimum, public litigation over parental rights has not emerged. The emphasis has remained on professional trajectories rather than courtroom battles over family matters. Public perception, however, does not operate solely on documented filings. The humiliation narrative that gained traction online stems from cumulative optics, the sideline appearance of Priya in a Wags jacket, Cardi's early departure from the stadium, the mutual unfollowing, and subsequent tour comments. Each element individually is limited in scope. Together, they created a storyline of public embarrassment. Whether that characterization reflects the private reality remains unconfirmed. The reaction from fans also highlights a broader tension within celebrity culture. When a public figure defends a former partner despite visible separation, audiences may interpret that defense as inconsistency. Cardi's decision to challenge BI's mockery of Diggs was read by some as loyalty and by others as misplaced protection. Social media commentary labeling her with clown emojis reflects the volatility of digital opinion rather than documented misconduct on her part. Meanwhile, the paternity rumors that circulated in late 2025 and early 2026 continue to shape perception without full judicial confirmation in the cited reports. Images of children shared publicly by Diggs are factual. The interpretation that multiple concurrent relationships occurred within the same year remains rooted largely in viral commentary and reposted claims. No comprehensive court summary confirming the most extreme versions of those allegations has been cited in the referenced material. In the long term, the reputational consequences for both individuals depend on different variables. For Diggs, athletic performance and legal outcomes will likely carry greater weight than relationship drama. NFL careers are measured in seasons, statistics, and contractual stability. Legal proceedings, however, can have lasting implications depending on their resolution. The not guilty plea initiates a formal process whose outcome will influence perception more than sideline controversy. For Cardi, brand resilience has historically been tied to transparency and adaptability. Her career has survived previous high-profile relationship turmoil. By acknowledging separation publicly while continuing to headline a global tour, she reinforces an image of professional continuity. The absence of extended public accusations suggests a deliberate effort to avoid escalation. Her focus on motherhood and touring maintains forward momentum rather than fixation on dispute. The intersection of their narratives illustrates how rapidly a celebrated relationship can shift into a case study in public optics. The Super Bowl weekend functioned as a visual pivot point, but the lasting significance lies in how each party navigates aftermath. Digital gestures such as unfollowing and photo deletion created immediate signals. On-stage comments provided partial confirmation. Legal filings added structural gravity. Beyond those elements, much of the surrounding narrative remains shaped by interpretation rather than definitive statements. As of the documented reporting, there is no joint confirmation of reconciliation. There is no formal announcement detailing a permanent dissolution beyond Cardi's acknowledgement of not being with her baby daddy. There are no cited custody disputes or civil suits between them. The legal process involving Diggs proceeds independently of the relationship narrative. In practical terms, the receiving yards metaphor circulating online reflects public commentary rather than contractual fact. What can be confirmed is separation, a pending legal case, continued touring, and shared parenthood. The humiliation narrative exists primarily in fan reaction. The documented reality is more restrained. Two high-profile individuals navigating professional obligations and legal processes amid heightened scrutiny. Ultimately, the saga has moved from spectacle to consequence. The emotional intensity of Super Bowl weekend has given way to structured timelines, court dates, tour schedules, and media cycles. Whether the relationship resumes or remains closed has not been formally declared beyond Cardi's acknowledgement of distance. What remains clear is that the intersection of celebrity, sports, and digital amplification ensures that even partial information can generate enduring narratives.